One of the things we want to talk about is storage for emerging data centers. Emerging data centers are kind of interesting because most businesses start off as a collection of laptops, maybe some desktops, and then eventually they get to the point where they need a server. In between, they might use like a software as a service application like Office 365 or something. But generally, at some point, every organization buys its first server. And then obviously that server needs capacity to store the data for that application. But the problem is it needs generally more and more capacity. And then at some point, that organization needs another server. And that, of course, that server needs some capacity. And maybe this first application continues to grow, so it needs more and more capacity. And the problem is that internally, storage systems, servers can only handle so much capacity. So the other thing that starts to happen, at some point the organization starts to think about doing something virtualization like VMware or Hyper-V or something of that nature. And that really starts to drive toward a shared storage environment. So instead of buying all this equipment and really reproducing resources or buying extra capacity, what we think makes a lot of sense is to start with an external storage system. First of all, an external storage system tends to have more capacity capability native to the box. Also, if you are very careful in what you look for, now you can find storage systems that are shareable. And that means that I can now take two servers and connect it to that storage system. I can put all my capacity in there. And then if I start to use something like virtualization, like VMware or Hyper-V, I can now connect that in as well. So that gives me the ability to start small, just like I would if I was using internal storage, but have the ability to expand as this application expands, and then also share it as I add more servers and maybe eventually virtualization. Now, the other thing to think about is features. As you look at the capabilities of these systems, internally you're going to be very limited in what you can do. And if you just go out and buy a standalone storage system that's not designed for sharing and things like that, your features are going to be pretty poor. If you select the right system, you'll be able to find some enterprise features like snapshots, replication, thin provisioning. And that'll allow you to better manage and better protect the environment to make sure that you've got a good, clean copy and data protection and things like that, as well as the other key thing to look for is the ability to mix SSDs and hard drives. So that way you can add a few SSDs in here and accelerate performance. And some systems will automatically move data between these two tiers for you, so data that needs to be accelerated will automatically move to the SSD. Data that's cold or doesn't need the performance will automatically move to the hard disk system. So that's a good strategy for emerging data centers, is instead of really starting with a lot of internal storage and locking yourself in, start with an external system, but an external system that can be shared eventually with other servers, and that has a complete feature set like snapshots, replication, thin provisioning, SSD, mixing SSDs and hard drives. I'm George Crump, lead analyst with Storage Switzerland. Thank you for joining us.